This morning, I'd just like to welcome everyone who's able to join us. We have quorum, and we'll just be able to start the meeting. We're, of course, continuing our virtual meetings because of COVID, and we're holding this committee meeting virtually because of that. Let me first begin with an acknowledgement that the land each of us is on, as we hold this virtual meeting, is the traditional territory of the many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And now it is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. During this public session, there will be 3 reports are put forward for the committee's information, which include the biannual Human Resources Division update report, a report on the introduction of the hybrid board in committee meetings, and the standing report on the city council directions requiring board attention. As I understand at this point, I've lost my, oh, sorry. Get this again.
I tell you, Brian, that's why I always trust paper.
Yeah, well, I should have printed it out, I guess. I'm reading it on my phone, so it's relatively small script here. Okay. So at this point, as I understand, and you can let me know if there has been any change, but at this point, we have not received any deputations, either written or requests for a virtual presentation.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now I'd like to just ask anyone if there are any conflicts of interest that we have, and if so, please declare them. Not hearing any, then there are no conflicts of interest at this meeting. I would ask for someone to move that the public agenda items as circulated are approved, and unless there are any changes to that. So could I ask for someone to move that? Debbie?
Yeah, Marcel moved, I'll second.
Okay, I didn't see you, Marcel. It was flipping around. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Are there any questions with regard, I guess, Dara, we could look at if there's anything that, any items that want to be held.
That's correct.
So are there any items that anyone would like to hold for further questions and discussion?
No, I don't have any.
Hearing none. Though I guess, Dara, I'm not sure that if we we want Barbara off the hook that easily to have her presentation since she put so much work into it. So I'm wondering whether we should hold that one and have a presentation. Is that?
So if somebody wants to hold item 6 in order to hear from Ms. Schulman in relation to that matter, we can adopt all of the other items on the agenda.
Good.
Okay, moved by Debbie,
Yeah.
seconded by Marcel. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Oh, then we just have item 6 to review, and at this point, I guess could ask Barbara to do her presentation, and Sonia could put that up on the screen. That would be great.
Thank you, Chair Smith and directors. So this morning, I am pleased to present to you the HR divisional update. And this presentation just takes you through some of the key things that our division has been focused on during this past year. As stated in the plan that was initially developed when I joined the organization in 2021, the HR division is focusing its efforts on 2 key components. One is driving key organizational priorities that allows our organization to meet all of its business goals, strategic goals, and objectives. And the other is an overarching goal to build and sustain a culture of trust and confidence in HR, in the division, in the programs, in all of the policies and procedures that we are responsible for delivering in the organization. The organization priorities that we are focused on are very much aligned with the strategic priorities that are set in the organization's strategic plan. And our goals include building high-performing teams in the organization to bring to life a culture of tenant service. That is ultimately why we are here, focused on excellent service delivery for the tenants, empowering and supporting our staff, ensuring that frontline leadership and employees are able, ready, prepared, supported to resolve issues and challenges locally in support of tenant needs. And our goal is to transform the way we work through the implementation of a variety of effective and efficient tenant services, processes, systems, and tools. Ultimately, the outcomes that we're striving to achieve include that TCHC would be a diverse and inclusive employer where all of our employees feel safe, comfortable, valued, empowered, bringing the ability to bring their whole selves to work, and that we'll have our culture model embedded in everything that we do. In this slide here, I'm highlighting some of the achievements that we've focused on this year, some of the work that we've undertaken and what we've achieved, specifically in regards to being a diverse and inclusive organization. Earlier this year, as you know, we implemented TCHC's first comprehensive corporate-wide diversity engagement survey. That survey provided a mechanism for us to receive important feedback from the workforce and to inform the development ultimately of our equity, diversity, inclusion strategy. We then took that feedback, we did further consultation, consulted focus groups, consulted with a variety of our employee resource groups in the organization, working closely in collaboration with our colleagues in the Center for Advancing Interests of Black People. And we have developed and have received approval of our equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy, which was presented to GCHRC earlier this year. We have begun undertaking a review of HR employees through an EDI lens. So looking at the existing employees that support, existing policies that support every aspect of the employee life cycle, from recruitment, onboarding, performance management, employee development, and applying an EDI lens to those policies and initiatives to ensure that there aren't hidden unconscious barriers that we just aren't aware of. And we have done so on a number of policies, and will continue to plow through all of the HR policies applying that lens. We've also applied our lens to our leadership development strategy and have made adjustments, and will be rolling out further progress and further initiatives to support leadership development in the organization. We have begun through our weekly HR newsletter communicating with all employees in the organization important highlights, using our newsletter as an education tool to educate our staff on important aspects that drive and support an inclusive organization. And we are working very closely to implement the HR division specific actions that we identified through the development of the CABR strategy. Each division, as you know, identified their own divisional action plan, and HR has taken a very keen focus and a priority focus on the actions we've committed to in relation to the CABR strategy. So we have specifically, and just to highlight a few of those things we've undertaken, is we've taken the CABR lens and applied it to our performance management program and made some adjustments. We've assigned CABR-related performance goals to all senior leaders in the organization, which have then cascaded to all management staff. We've expanded our culture model with additional expectations in relation to the CABR strategy. Next slide, please. Another key area of focus is driving the embedding of the culture model in our organization, so that it is truly reflected in the way our employees work, in the way they treat each other, in the way they work to support tenants. And we want our culture in the organization to be that inspires trust in the organization and supports our employees in their ability to make tenant-focused decisions. So as I've mentioned, some of the things we've achieved already is in relation to our performance management program. We have enhanced the culture competency framework through further consultation with our stakeholders, with our leaders across the organization. We're really trying to focus in the performance management program, not just what people's objectives are, but very much focused on how they go about achieving those objectives. And that's where we really bring to life the culture model for the organization. What is the experience that our employees have? How do they interact with their leaders, with their colleagues? In regards to employee engagement, as you know, we undertook the equity, diversity, inclusion strategy. We've reviewed employee policies through an employee diversity lens, and we are enhancing our partnerships with various internal as well as external organizations to continue our commitment to build the inclusive culture. In terms of leadership development, we have recently developed a leadership toolkit to help support our leaders in their ability to understand how are their employees and management faring in understanding what it looks like to adopt the culture competencies. What does that translate into in terms of the way they lead and manage staff on their team? And the intent of this tool is really to hold managers accountable to working effectively with their team, to hold their team accountable to adopting the behaviors and actions that support the culture that we strive to achieve in the organization. We continued the implementation of our leadership development program with newly hired people leaders. And as of early this year, we had all people leaders have now gone through the first phase of our leadership development program. And if we could move on to the next slide. As we focus on our frontline leadership, what we really want to achieve is frontline leaders who feel engaged and equipped with the necessary tools, resources, and supports that enable them to provide tenant-focused services and help them resolve problems closer to the front line. We know that that was a big focus behind the ops restructuring, the creation of the hub model. And this year, that's involved creation of a new learning program, which will be rolled out later this year, making sure that our frontline staff have a clear understanding of what it means to be a landlord, understanding the rights and obligations of our organization and the rights of our tenants as well. Next slide, please. In driving our organization priorities, we want to make sure that as an organization, we're very service oriented, and that we also look at providing a modernized workplace and a flexible work environment for our staff. This year, as we transitioned out of the emergency remote policy that arose because of COVID, we leveraged the opportunity to create Toronto Community Housing's new hybrid work policy, which is a policy that is in place for a portion of our workforce that are eligible to perform their work remotely. Of course, we are largely a frontline, in-person focused service delivery model, delivering services in all of our buildings for our tenants, but a portion of our workforce is able to provide work remotely. And we've recently adopted a hybrid work policy that will enable us to align with the City of Toronto and with its Modern TO initiative that will enable us to provide flexible work arrangements for many of our employees in the organization. And that has recently launched and is being obviously very well received as many employees embrace the opportunity to have more choice and flexibility about where they perform their work. Next slide, please. Underlying all of the work that we do is really trying to move us forward in the organization on achieving an HR vision of being an enabler and a business partner in the organization, of promoting and fostering trust, safety, fairness, and equity in everything that we do, and ensuring that we are dynamic and proactive, that we provide thoughtful, effective solutions in a timely, proactive, and effective manner across the organization. As you know, next slide, please. HR has a role to play in supporting all aspects of Toronto Community Housing's business. And in 2022, this is just a sampling of some of the key things that the team has been involved in. We spent a big portion of the first few months of our year very focused on the transition to the Seniors Housing Corporation. We also supported the transition of our remaining contract managed buildings to direct management. We are working with a very focused effort on a talent retention and attraction strategy as our organization faces unique challenges in this current market. And that, of course, becomes an important focus for us. We continue to develop important employee and training and development programs to enable strong service delivery to our tenants, to enable a strong learning environment for our employees where there's opportunity for growth and advancement. And of course, as this is thankfully dwindling, but we have spent a big portion of the first part of the year focused with the continued focus on our COVID emergency response. And these next slides just give a few more details on some of the work that we were specifically involved in supporting the transition to Seniors Housing Corporation, which involved transfer of a large number of employees, negotiation with our labor partners, and of course with the goal of minimal disruption and displacement to both Toronto Community Housing as well as Seniors Housing Corporation. Next slide, please. Similarly, with the transition from contract to direct management, the focus is always on seamless transition so that our tenants experience minimal to no disruption at all. Behind the scenes, this involves a lot of work, in particular from the labor relations team, in negotiating with labor partners to resolve any conflicts that arise in the bargaining rights between the unions. And this gave rise to the implementation of a memorandum of settlement to ensure a smooth transition. The transition also resulted in a need for recruitment of a large number of vacancies that arose as a result of the contract managed building staff moving in, and of course, onboarding and training for the new staff that were welcomed into the organization. Next slide, please. With the challenges that are being experienced, not just within TCHC, but really across the market overall, there's been a heavy amount of recruitment this year. And to date, or as at the time of preparing this report, we had filled just over 700 vacancies in the organization. And that's a mix of temporary and permanent hires in the organization. As you can see, we had movement internally with some of those vacancies filled from within, providing opportunity, development, movement for our internal staff, as well as a fair amount of external hires to the organization. Pretty high activity, and I'm pleased to say that throughout all of this, the team was able to maintain an average time to fill of 9 weeks, which just from an overall benchmarking and metrics is a pretty admirable rate of time to fill vacancies in the organization. As we continue to focus not just on attraction, but also on retaining our staff in the organization, we've brought forward important information to the committee in regards to a need to look at our total rewards program, our compensation program. We are grateful for the support that we've been receiving from the committee and the board in terms of looking at non-union compensation where we've had particular challenges. And the implementation of the 2.5% increase was, I think, an important message to staff that we are committed to address some of those challenges. And as Chair Smith noted, we will be coming back to committee next cycle in November with further information on changes that we want and recommendations to ensure our ability to continue to retain and attract talent to the organization. Next slide, please. Employee training and development is an important area of focus as we demonstrate our commitment to investing in our employees in the organization. Q1 was a bit of a challenge for us with heavy COVID incidents resulted in restraining the on-site training delivery, but we were still able to deliver a number of training initiatives for staff and saw this number increase substantively in Q2, where we were able to deliver a large number of training programs in person to our staff, largely and to our frontline staff as well, and supporting staff in their professional development activities. Next slide, please. It seems like a long ago, but it is worthy to note because this has been an important focus for the HR team, particularly in the first half of the year. And thankfully, as I mentioned, with the numbers now stabilizing and a return to more normalcy, but COVID emergency response has been, since the beginning of the pandemic and certainly through this year, an important area of focus in our organization and for our health and safety and wellness team in particular, supporting ongoing screenings, providing direction to employees, to divisional management. Of course, implementing our COVID vaccination policy through 2021 and into 2022 was also an important area for us. and continuing to deliver a number of wellness programs virtually as we continue to emphasize the importance of this for our workforce. And this year, we also are involved in a new RFP for critical e-learning for workplace violence and harassment, mental health awareness, and working in confined spaces. Next slide, please. So this presentation hopefully has given you a flavor for the work that the HR division has focused on in the organization. Our priority work has included our equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy, from the survey to developing the strategy to implementing actions, and that will continue to be an important focus for us into next year and beyond. Employee engagement action plans remain a priority as HR leads the organization in ensuring that we continue to utilize the information we glean from our engagement surveys, focus on our leadership development strategies, on our CABR work plan, on labor negotiations. That is some of the things that we will be focusing on for the balance of 2022. And internally within the organization, of course, and within our own division, we're looking very much at making sure that we have the right KPIs in place to measure the effectiveness of the work that we're doing, making sure that we've got the right technology. We'll continue to focus on continuous improvement, opportunities for streamlining our processes. We're heading into a difficult budget year. We know that, and we need to make sure that we maximize how we allocate the resources to focus on the important work of the organization, and always ensuring that we are looking to be a modernized organization with the right policies, programs in place to support a high-performing workforce. And so thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara. That was a great presentation. Realize how important HR is in creating a culture of both that serves our tenants as well as our employees, and that was very, very informative. Is there any questions that anyone would like to ask?
Not a question, but thank you for that update and that report. I am just sitting here marveling at your 9 weeks turnaround and the fact that you've been able to hire over 700 people within a 6 months period, knowing the difficulty we're having as a nonprofit sector in retaining and attracting new staff. So congratulations on all of it.
Thank you. And I certainly have a wonderful team supporting this organization, and my key leadership team is joined here, so I do want to acknowledge, because this is a team effort, and we have Kelly Schultes, Amzad Khan, and Vishnu Ramsamuch, our directors from HR, who are just awesome, hardworking, and ever focused on these priorities. So thank you, Director Douglas.
That's good. I was particularly taken, Barbara, with the leadership toolkit. Wondering if it is something that would benefit our sister organizations in the nonprofit sector, if not more broadly, but at least here in Toronto. Is that something you can share?
Absolutely. We'd be happy to share with you.
That would be great.
I'd happy to arrange an offline conversation.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you very much, Barbara, and for your team who has done a great job in a very challenging year with all the challenges we had with COVID and recruitment. So congratulations to your whole team. Are there any other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the recommendation of this report as presented, to receive it. Is that thanks very much, Marcel, seconded by Debbie. All those in favor? Motion is carried. as that it was the only item that was held, I don't think there's any further items. Is that correct, Dara?
That's correct.
So I'll look for a motion to terminate the meeting today. Moved by Marcel, seconded by Debbie. All those in favor, motion is carried. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to furthering our work at the next meeting. Thank you very much. Have a great